Help me put your hands together again for Mr. Shawn Abbatessa!
So, here we are again. Guess what's standing between you and the bar and the break? This guy. So be good, or I might go a little longer. Again, my name is Shawn Abbatessa. I'm very pleased to be here with you this evening. And the title of my presentation is For Some, the Battle Never Ends. Michael, go ahead and hit it, buddy. So tonight I'm going to talk to you about post-traumatic stress disorder, better known as the acronym PTSD. There are millions of people that suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder for many reasons. Loss of a loved one, a near-fatal car crash. Those first responders suffer, a lot of them. But in particular today I'm going to speak to you about PTSD and war, and the effects and the statistics that a soldier who has PTSD, who served in a wartime zone, goes through. But first, you have to look back to the beginning. The soldier says, I do, goes through basic training. The military breaks them down and puts them back together to do one thing: to fight, to be a soldier. And this is what we get. We get a lean, mean fighting machine who has sworn to give his or her life if the time comes. And there becomes an emotional numbing because that's what they've been trained to do. Now, PTSD has been on the rise with the military. In the 60s, about 10% of the cases through the Veterans Administration was PTSD, or known as shell shock back then. 2016, over 50% of the cases filed. Now, PTSD is what we call an invisible wound. You can't physically see that disability. It's an emotional and a mental disability. Now, what are some of the factors? There's a lot of them. Anger, fear, remorse, vivid nightmares, triggers. All of these things affect a veteran who has seen war that suffers from post-traumatic stress disorder. The numbers are staggering. In Vietnam, 2.7 million veterans served. 30 out of every 100 suffer from PTSD. If you move on in the timeline, the Persian Gulf War, Desert Shield, Desert Storm, 425,000 veterans served, and 12 out of every 100 suffer from PTSD. A little farther in the timeline, you go to Operation Iraqi Freedom, 175,000 veterans served, and 11 out of every 100 suffer from PTSD. These numbers are staggering when you truly think about it. In society, we have learned that approximately 22 veterans a day commit suicide. If you take the veteran population and correlate that to the civilian population, that's twice as much. But of those 22 veterans, a little less than half have been clinically diagnosed. Now, you're scratching your head, I see, because you're hearing me, and you get it, but you don't truly understand it because you may not have lived it. I am going to put each and every one of you in a scenario right now. I want you to imagine you're a young soldier, man or woman. You're over in the Gulf War and you're just north of that red line, and there is a madman named Saddam Hussein who has his finger on a button. It's 3 o'clock in the morning and you hear this. This sound means you have 11 minutes before that missile hits your location. 11 minutes and your life may be over. Think about what that does. And all of a sudden it goes silent and you hear, shoo, boom! And you start checking limbs. Am I still alive? Gas alarms start going off. Am I going to die from a chemical attack? And this is the result. It's called the 1,000-yard stare, and it's called that for a reason, because it mentally and physically affects that veteran for the rest of their life. Now, why am I up here talking about this? What makes me a subject matter expert? Because this is a really tough subject to discuss. Well, a lot of you in this audience know me as the husband, the father, the stepfather. I'm an avid golfer. I love my race, and I don't care what it is as long as it goes fast. I'm a graduate of Leadership Daytona. But what a lot of you don't know is that I served over in the Gulf War. And that scenario I gave you, I lived every day for 2, 3, 4 times a day, along with my comrades in arms. My name is Shawn Abbatessa. I am a disabled American veteran, and I suffer from PTSD. Thank you for your time.